Maybe you intro, because then it'll be a switch.
Take my picture. Just take my picture.
Yeah, sure.
Let me just get this out. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. If we could get you to take your seats. Welcome, everybody, to the first ever Dash Conference here in beautiful London, England. My name is Jason King. I'm going to be your MC today. The people here that know me as Executive Director of Unsung.org. We're a homeless charity that uses cryptocurrencies, including Dash, to feed the homeless. And I'm also the co-founder, Executive Director of the Academy School of Blockchain at Kingsland University. It is my pleasure today to introduce you to our host, a good friend of mine, who's on my board of directors at Unsung and is also my co-founder at Academy. And there's no way you don't know this gentleman because he puts on the best cryptocurrency conferences in the world. And it's my pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Mo Levin.
Welcome, guys. The first Dash Conference. This is pretty exciting for everybody. I'm super excited about this. Can we get some slides up? That's me. You got an intro already, but this is basically me. So let's do a couple points of housekeeping. First, there should be a Wi-Fi network available to you guys. Wi-Fi is generally pretty sloppy, so if you don't need to connect to it, don't. If you do need to connect it, don't download Stream Torrent, run Master Node. Just leave it. Just use it for whatever. You could use a hashtag if you want. The Dash Conference, that works. Outside, you guys probably seen it. It's in Paris, where we'll have some food, drinks, and networking there. Tonight we're going to have a networking event, and we'll be here as well. But go home, change, and then come back. We're going to have a party here. Let's talk about a little bit about the Dash Conference. Welcome, Dib. Oh, wait. It's slow. Wait. Welcome. Good. Welcome. Done. Meeting people is important. Use these events. The reason we put on these events, the reason you're all here, the reason we want to be here together is to meet new people, to grow your network, let your voice be heard. And I appreciate all you guys being here, prioritizing this event over the million other things you have going on in your life, your dog, your family, anything you have to do. It's a Sunday morning in London. It's crazy to see so many people, and it's amazing, but use the opportunity to meet people. Good. All right, let's do it. Share business cards, get to know people. So this conference is the product of meeting people. This is an email I got in the end of 2015 from a friend of mine in Amsterdam. He says, hey, I'm going to be I'm hosting this event on Wednesday. There's a guy named Evan Duffield. You should meet him. He's a great guy. Try to get together. I sent him an email. We met for a coffee. A couple days later, we talked about Dash. Right? 3 months later, this is a slide. 3 months later, we had him on stage in Miami, giving a great talk. We've had him at all our events since, or people from Dash in Miami every year. Hopefully we do the Dash Conference as an annual thing, biannual. We'll see. Meeting people, that was a quick introduction, quick meeting for a coffee. Met him, got him on stage in Miami. 18 months later, we got a message with Ryan, got a meeting invitation. We were discussing it. Let's plan a conference. Let's make something happen. Boost it. just connecting, collaborating, meeting people, understanding their points of view and what you can do together, offering, everybody has their own unique set of skills. Doing it together is important. This whole event, the reason you're here, everything, why you're here is because we met people and collaborated on everything. Thank you for coming. You guys are gonna have a great day. We've got a great schedule. The schedule might change a little bit, whatever. The agenda in the book is roughly accurate, but you know, last minute changes. There's a live stream over here, which is going out, I'm not sure, on Dash Force News.
Yeah, so it's on Slack, it's on Twitch.
It's on Twitch. We're live streaming out. You can share links to that. This is my email. If you need anything at all, introductions to people, where to get food, if the washroom needs paper towels, whatever you need, let me know. I got you. Thank you. And yeah, thank you. No, this is great. Put your hands together for all of you guys that have come here. And made it awesome.
One more time for Mr. Mo Levin, everybody. All right, so early on in the schedule, everyone that I'm introducing pretty much needs no introduction, so it's kind of a little redundant, but bear with me here. I now have the pleasure to introduce Ryan Taylor. Ryan Taylor is currently the CEO of DashCore, leading the growth and development of the #1 digital currency for payments. Dash is an innovative digital currency that offers a number of improvements over Bitcoin and is a popular payment option for consumers online and at point of sale. Ryan is an expert in the payments industry with over 15 years of experience in financial services and technology. Prior to Dash, Ryan was a hedge fund analyst covering a global state of payments industry investments for the private equity and public markets funds of a $20 billion investment firm based in New York. He possesses a comprehensive understanding of payments and the drivers for success within the payments industry. Ryan was previously an associate partner at McKinsey & Company's Business Technology Office in New York, where he served senior executive clients of some of the world's largest financial institutions, covering a wide variety of strategy and technology topics. Ryan holds a Master's of Business Administration degree from Columbia Business School with a concentration in finance and economics, and a Bachelor of Science from W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So, hello. I just got a lengthy introduction there, but my name's Ryan Taylor. I'm the CEO of DashCore Group. And it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you here to the inaugural Dash Conference. It's amazing that over 500 people from across the globe are here today and took the time and energy and money it took to come and be here in person. That tells me a lot about how meaningful Dash has become to so many people. As the team and I spent a great deal of time preparing for today's event, it caused me to reflect very deeply upon the journey that Dash has followed and where we're headed. The path we've covered so far is one filled with many rejections, high uncertainty, execution risk, competitor smear campaigns, and any number of reasons for Dash to have failed. Despite all those challenges, we've enjoyed a lot of success. And that success is not by accident. Dash is successful because of the hard work and common beliefs of many people, including our supporters from around the world. And it's because of our collective perseverance, professionalism, and a shared vision that Dash is already the best payments-oriented digital currency. And as you'll see today, we're only getting started. We already have effective governance, we're self-funded, and through a one-time, this is not through like a one-time ICO, but through a sustainable funding model that holds the team accountable for effectively leveraging those funds. We have instant confirmations, which makes Dash usable at the point of sale. We have a clear vision that applies payments industry best practices to the digital currency space. And Dash's community is growing every day, both in terms of the growth of our ecosystem of services and in terms of our users. As measured by market cap, we've outgrown the market for each of the last 4 years by a wide margin, despite hundreds of new currencies coming into the space. And today, you'll hear announcements from a few of the latest addition to our growing list of partners that are integrated with Dash. And I would argue that Dash today is the single most ambitious project in the digital currency market. We're doing nothing short of reinventing money in a way that can actually reach mass adoption while retaining all the benefits of a decentralized network. The implications of what we're doing is profound for society and for individuals and businesses. In the past, I've likened our current state of the digital currency market to that of the early internet. In the very beginning, the first use cases for the internet were replacing existing solutions. Email took the place of paper-based messages, for example. However, over time, entirely new use cases emerged from the internet, things that only that technology could provide, and it ushered in the information age. Information used to come to us in large chunks, infrequently, and at great expense. For example, once a week you would receive your Sunday newspaper with the news in it. About every 10 years you would refresh your Encyclopedia Britannica. Certain information required a trip down to the library in order to access it. By digitizing information and making it freely accessible from anywhere, it enabled us to access information in new ways. News is published to our mobile devices as it occurs. Each one of us is now able to access information whenever we want. Anyone can publish their own content or live stream events from their phones. In short, information has become flows in our lives, and it kind of falls away into the background, almost in an unnoticed fashion. In these days of early digital currency, we're at that same stage as the early internet. Currently, digital currency is largely used to replace existing payments at sometimes lower costs. Remittances, online payments. And there is real benefit to doing so in the same way that email changed the way that written messages were exchanged. But when you think about what happens when you can scale digital currency and the cost per transaction drops to near zero, the implications become very exciting and the potential benefits are enormous. Value can begin to flow in ways we can scarcely imagine today. Thinking about payments today, they tend to be large, infrequent, and costly, just like information used to be. Your monthly rent, your paycheck, your quarterly newspaper subscription, your monthly phone bill. But imagine a world in which transaction costs are negligible. Cellular phones would negotiate a 1-minute contract with a carrier and make payments in the very data stream that is your voice. Machines would be able to monetize unused resources or pay for services from other machines. Automobiles could contain cryptocurrency and make road tax payments to the city that you're driving in based on the current congestion level. And that would make our roadway infrastructure more efficient and allow us to avoid costly infrastructure upgrades. Employees could get paid every day that they clock out. The truth is, we can scarcely imagine the profound changes that will emerge from this technology, but we know the benefits are immense. And I believe that that makes digital currency an inevitability. So today you're going to hear about one such use case we're actively exploring. I think you'll see right away that the profound solution could only be possible with digital currency that can scale. It's one of the reasons I believe that Dash is uniquely positioned to capture this market. Our incentivized nodes allow Dash to scale to several orders of magnitude higher than first-generation digital currencies. Also, these benefits can only be captured by lowering the barriers for businesses and consumers. By making digital currency accessible and scalable, Dash will be able to address a massively larger market than digital currencies have been able to reach so far. Dash aims to reinvent money that will empower everyone with greater security, financial freedom, and opportunity than any monetary system in history. And as you'll see throughout the day, we're succeeding. You'll hear from technologists building our ambitious next generation system, Evolution. You'll also hear more about our key partnerships and some new additions to our ecosystems of services. You'll hear us discuss some of the scaling research that is happening at Arizona State University, and more details of our strategic positioning and improvements to the core team's accountability to the network. And we hope to answer all your pressing questions during our Q&A session. And then finally, closing today, I'll share more details about Dash's competitive positioning and our perspective on the current state of Dash that will draw from examples throughout the day. And of course, we have a networking event this evening. That includes the attendees from the World Blockchain Forum as well. It should be a lot of fun, and we can spend some time making new friends and making them jealous that they weren't here today. So for myself, I've never been more excited or proud to be a part of something so amazing, and I look forward to sharing with you all of our latest accomplishments, and I hope that you find today informational, inspiring, and a lot of fun. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, coming to the stage is Mr. Chuck Williams, who is a Dash core developer. For 20 years, Chuck has advocated for human empathy as a skill to enhance developer effectiveness. His current focus is delivering excellent experiences to the communities of Dash holders, users, merchants, developers, and masternode owners. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chuck Williams.
This doesn't look like mine. You guys can hear me okay? I'll give it a minute. It's cool. I gotta tell you guys, this is amazing. I'm really, really glad to be here. Welcome. Hopefully we can make this happen. How we doing? Well, all right, I'll just dive in. First off, thank you for being here. This is my first time in London, and as far as first times in London's go, it's been quite epic. Oh, look at that, it's happening. So, the title of this talk, I feel very privileged to bring this to you, by the way. I hit it twice. Are we good? Ah, there we go. So I've titled this talk, Evolution, a why, a bit of how, a what, and a when, a few whats and when, and in 20 minutes. That's the idea anyway. Again, my name is Chuck Williams. I am the UI UX tech lead at Dash, and I gotta tell you, it's been an incredible experience working for Dash at the first decentralized autonomous organization. They focus a lot on the A in autonomous. That autonomous, if you're not able to operate autonomously, you don't really succeed in this space. So it's just incredible going in this direction. Before I go too much further, I'd like to say some thank yous to Ian, Mukau, Ujin, Robert, Fernando, Alex, Nathan, Luba, Joshua, Kelly, Ryan, Draco, Alexander, the Dashforce News guys, Brian, Joel, and Mark, and of course, Amanda B. Johnson, Andy Freer, and Evan Duffield. Without these people, none of us would be here today. And I think it's worthwhile to just acknowledge that for a moment. So let's talk a moment about why. That is, why am I here? I like to ask myself this question a lot. I've spent a lot of time doing UX. I've spent a lot of time understanding people. I'm a big psychology buff. I like to think about what people think about. I like to think about thinking. They call it meta-thought, from what I understand. I've spent a lot of time understanding what people need for these interfaces. Some of you may know that I'm listed as a patent inventor for the Shutterfly photo book application. I was involved in implementing the FedEx Print Online application, so if you've ever uploaded a document and picked it up at a FedEx office, you've used my work. If you've ordered a photo book and set it on your coffee table, you've used my work. But the reason that I'm here today is to serve freedom. Because for the first time in my life, my morals and principles align with the work that I'm doing. There is an epic struggle that reaches back into all of mankind's history between the people who would control other people and the people who want to control themselves. I am in service of the latter group. I'm also here to serve this vision. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that vision today, what that vision is, what that vision means. And I'm also here for you, the community. I want to bring service to you. It is so fundamental to my being that I make you happy with these wallets and applications and things that we're going to deliver. So that's why I'm here. Most of us know that the goal of Dash is to be the crypto that your grandma can use, right? But you have to ask yourself, what does that mean? And I'm asking myself, what does that mean every single day? It's my life at this point. It's ingrained in my soul. I think about it all the time, all the conversations that I have. What this means, that should this vision become a reality, it means that grandma is out there getting her Dash any way that she can, right? But it means more than that, because it takes more than grandmas to run a digital economy, right? But that vision means that we've solved a number of things. It means that the experience is such that it's pleasurable. It means that we made grandma smile, right? At some point, we made her smile. It was enjoyable for her to use this thing. That's my number one goal right now. It means that we've built a trustworthy brand by delivering on our promises. I am not one who likes to not deliver on my promises. I just had a conversation with Scott Farnsworth, who likes to do this thing that he calls stacking the deck. And I realize that's a very good perspective. He stacks the deck with work. All the things that you see us do, there's 30 things going on behind us. And if we just deliver on those few things, then we will succeed. But it also means that we've made it easy for developers to learn and implement the Dash platform. This is critical. And also it means that the fundamentals are well known and accessible, and we have accessible resources in all forms of media, making education very approachable for Dash developers and the Dash community globally. So, before I dive into evolution itself, I think it's important to clear some things up. Okay? There's a lot of confusion out there. That's kind of pointing that out. Because I put some questions out there to the community. I said, hey, tell me what you want to know about evolution. And one of the first things that I realized after receiving all these questions is that not everybody has the understanding, of course, that I do working with the core team to paint the picture, to build on top of their ideas, to build their understanding of what Dash is doing, what we're doing with evolution, okay? So the first thing that I want to clear up, and I was shocked to learn this, okay? Evolution is just a code name, okay? I know this may be a shock and surprise to a lot of you, but we will not be launching this product under the name of Evolution. And I think it's ever important to just get that out in the air right now. We probably won't be marketing it as Evolution, okay? You can call it Evolution, just know that it's a public code name that we use for this thing, and I'll talk more about that thing. But it's the same thing that Android does, right? They've got very flavorful code names, right? The most recent one being Oreo. I'm surprised that they're able to do that, but they're not marketing it, right? As Oreo. So that's Android's latest release. The second clarification that I need to make, and this is a screenshot from our release that went out into about evolution, is that evolution is not just a product, okay? It's both a product and a platform. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because not everybody understands what that means, being both a product and a platform. So I'm going to dive into that just a little bit because I really think it's important. So let's take a look at platforms and products just for a minute. Apple OS X platform, great platform. iPhone, iPad, MacBook Pro, hundreds, thousands of applications. All products written on top of a platform, okay? Keep this in mind. Another good example, Google Android. Platform. Google Android is a platform. You've got other products written on top of this platform, right? Find My Device, Android Pay, Camera, Gmail, Earth, SkyMap. You guys are familiar with these, right? Go Google Play and see all the products that are launched on top of the Android platform, all right? Dash Evolution is a platform. We are building a platform. And upon this platform, we'll be delivering Evolution accounts. That'll be one of our products. Evolution-enabled wallets, another product. Merchant applications, Masternode applications, investment tools. Dash Core will be treated as a product. Dash Drive will be treated as a product, and the decentralized API will be treated as a product. I hope this paints a picture for where we're going, okay? And I hate to belabor this point, but I do want to be clear. This is a platform that we are building. These platforms are coming. Everybody's getting a platform, okay? This is important for all of us to understand. So, just as Dash will be digital, more than just digital cash. It's going to be a digital cash platform, okay? So to reiterate, Evolution is a code name, Evolution is a product, Evolution is a platform, okay? I hate to belabor this point too much, but I'll move on. So Dash will be more than just digital cash, okay? We've already got digital cash kind of in the bag. Satoshi Nakamoto really did this for us, and we just wrote some improvements on top of it. It's gonna be a digital cash platform, but it's gonna be more than just a digital cash platform. It's going to be a digital cash platform product. But really, it's gonna be a little bit more than that, because we know that it's more than just a digital cash platform product. There's a longer than 1 second delay on this thing, guys. We know that it's global. It's a global digital cash platform product. But it's even more than that. Really, if you want to get the picture right, it's a global, decentralized, autonomous, digital cash network, platform, product, economy. Does that make sense? This is what we're building, okay? Now, this is evolution. This is what evolution is going to be. So at this point, I'm going to just ditch my cards because I don't think I need them anymore. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're going to do this, all right? I struggled with this because I think that it's important to communicate as much as I can, but we have to hold our advantage, right? Our market advantage. So some stuff we need to keep in. That's why we're using private repositories. And what I think we need to do is break this down. I want to tell you as much of the how as I can without going into too much technical detail. So I'm going to keep this at a bit higher level. Moving ahead. So this is, again, my Venn diagram. If you've seen any videos, I talk about this. The user goals on top, the technology goals on the bottom right, and the organization goals on the bottom left. I've been on 40 different project teams, building software for a couple of decades. I usually focus on the front end. I have designed some databases, I've done a lot of middleware, I've been involved in this industry for quite some time. And this model works. It helps us to gain agreement on our teams. When I facilitate conversations with clients, I tell them, I show them, look, if you don't satisfy your users, you're gonna fail. If you don't meet the technology goals, you're gonna fail. If you don't fulfill the organization goals or business, if you're talking with a corporation, you're gonna fail. You have different ways of failing. And if you look at the research on software development, you're more likely to fail than to succeed. In fact, if I recall, it's about 80% likely to fail. So this becomes a risk mitigation game. And if you're gonna be successful in this industry for a couple of decades and get products out, they're gonna last 8 years on the web. I think it's 10 years now, some of the applications that I've written. For that kind of longevity, you need to make sure that you're satisfying all of these areas, okay? So first, with Evolution, we're going to give users a home. You will have your own little real estate on the property, on the blockchain, excuse me. It's gonna be property on the blockchain called your username. Your username is going to be, well, just like a Twitter account. You know, it's how you're going to be identified on the system. It's how people are going to know you. And we can enhance that, and we can build on top of it, but this is the first thing that we're going to do, because everything with Evolution is built on top of being able to have unique identifiers that are public, findable, searchable, and so on and so forth. So, I've been asked not to go into too much detail, so I'm going to give you just a little bit of an overview. If you guys are familiar with the BIP process, Bitcoin Improvement Protocols, or Bitcoin Improvement Proposals, excuse me, we've got DIP processes going on here at Dash. All right, we've got Dash improvement proposals that are currently under design and development. Our guys have been debating, meeting, talking, reviewing, hashing out, refining all these different DIPs. And this is just a small selection that's specifically around user names. There's probably, I don't know, 20 or so others that are being reviewed and written and designed and researched. Now, this is one of the wonderful things about Dash, right? We have the funds to provide for research and development. We are investing in a solid platform. We're talking about money here. We need to make sure that this is secure, but we also need to make sure that it's friendly and usable. So all these dips that I'm going to talk about here, first off, user accounts. This dip talks about the structure of user accounts. Dip 29 and dip 30, usernames and DAuth. And usernames, so we're going to talk about, like, it's the evolution when we deliver it. Usernames will have, there will be rules, and they're going to be common rules that you're familiar with in other systems. And they'll be compatible with as many languages as we can support on the blockchain, because usernames will land on the blockchain. It's one of the things that's going to make them findable. But not all the information is going to be landing on the blockchain. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to provide users control, that searchability and contact management. One of those dips that I talked about that I think is very interesting, it's kind of this sneaker attack that we're doing, the DAuth that you may have noticed up there. That's a authentication mechanism, okay? So you think about, sometimes when you log into a website, you might pop up and they'll offer you, hey, do you want to use your Google account or your Facebook account or your Twitter? You can log in with those. Well, guess what? We're going to add Dash right there. Now, if we only do that, what that means is millions of people around the world are going to be able to use the Dash platform as an authentication mechanism. And we could just do that alone. We can do that all day. There's companies that do that. And it's going to be secure, because we're talking about money. We're building it on the blockchain. You can use this as a 2FA or a UTF kind of thing, if you're familiar with those. So again, searchability, contact management, we'll add that in. And then the third stage in this kind of strategic vision that we're approaching towards the next year, we're going to provide merchants with product payment integrations. Okay, so after we have the blockchain storing usernames, after we have all the data for the first-class citizens and the object schemas and all that kind of worked out, the configurations for merchant apps and all these things kind of worked out, we're working on these things right now. Then we'll go out to the merchants and say, hey, here's what we've got for you. We'll make big promotions. We'll talk about product payment integrations. We'll say, look, your developers, merchants, talk to your developers. Here's our developer docs. You can copy and paste this and add Dash Pay right here. You can build this into your application this way. Here's the decentralized API documentation. Here's how you can invoke transactions and store data in Dash Drive and do all the things that our platform will provide. We're going to be able to replace database systems. Ditch your MongoDB in the cloud. We've got another cloud that's right here, hashed to the blockchain with every transaction. So then what? Then we scale, okay? Once we get these evolution core pieces in place, then we're going to start scaling out with the merchant solutions that we've offered as payment integrations. And that's when we blow up, okay? That's when we really hit the ground running. So when is this all going to happen, right? I think that's a big question in the room. The first thing that we're doing right now is we're working on these dips and we're working on the UX. Joshua and I are working heavily on the very first flow of onboarding users. And just to give a little bit of tidbit on that, it's going to be a subscription kind of based system where you get an invitation. And that invitation takes two parts. There's a sponsor and a receiver. Now, you can go ahead and create a wallet, right? And the wallet is, you get your mnemonic and all that, and that's very simple. But in order to get written on the blockchain, the miner's got to get paid. Nobody works for free. Miner's got to get paid, masternode's got to get paid. So in order to facilitate this, we will have sponsors. Your friend can send you an invitation for a very small fee, and that'll get mined to the blockchain. That invitation will be good for a period of time. You receive the invitation code, you plug in your invitation code along with your subscription transaction. That closes the transaction with your own HD mnemonic key. And that'll be sealed and written to the blockchain along with the username that you chose at the time that you created it. It sounds complicated, but it's really going to be a simple process. Get the invitation, drop it in, now you have your username registered, you got your property on the blockchain. And then in December, we'll be testing just that. We'll be testing this onboarding process, this onboarding flow. We're going to make sure that that's easy. We're going to try and make sure that hopefully we can open this up. We can start getting feedback from you folks. We'll give you links. We'll say, hey, check this out. This is the test net. This is what we're doing. Can you help us harden this thing, make it better? That's December. And then by June next year, Evolution version 1, quote unquote. Don't know what we're going to call it. Maybe Ogilvy and Mather will help us out with that. And then we'll have the Dash platform version 13. So that's it. That's the plan. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Matt Robertson's about to come to the stage. He's going to be talking about Instant Send, which I know everyone here is looking forward to hearing about. Matt learned about Bitcoin and blockchain in 2011. He has a background in computer science and electrical engineering from Illinois Institute of Technology, and he has been following and discussing blockchain and consensus systems since 2011. Matt has been a consistent advocate for cryptocurrency and the benefits it can bring to our society, and continues to dedicate his free time to advance the adoption of cryptocurrency. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Robertson.
Thank you for that introduction. So I'm here from Austin, Texas. And first, I know a lot of awesome people here. I want to say thanks to Eugen and Codablock. They have been, to them, I was just some random person emailing them. And they were very responsive and answered all my questions. And I mean, for a core team to be that responsive and it's a good sign for any project out there. So also to the Dash core team who let me come here and speak. So I started my journey into Dash about 6 months ago. And so part of that, I started looking into Instant Send. So it was one of the differentiators for Dash, and I wanted to know how it worked. So I started looking into Instant Send, and so I put this presentation together, and I actually have one budget proposal under my belt as well. So I hope a lot of people here, or people that watch this, are Bitcoiners that are new to Dash specifically. So we're going to start at very high level. So bear with me, but then we're going to dive deep into the details of exactly how it works and why it's a secure mechanism, and it brings a lot of value to the Dash protocol. So it's on by default in most wallets, and it's as fast as 1, 2, 3, and we have money. Now, a lot of people who have been in the blockchain space with Bitcoin have seen this screen on a Bitcoin wallet. However, this is much different because in Bitcoin, this would be considered a zero confirmation transaction. And when the blocks weren't full, merchants could successfully accept these for low amounts. Now, with Dash, what this is doing is it is generating a level of confidence for the merchant to receive this transaction at much higher amounts and instantly have a level of confidence of several blocks of confirmation. So, and that's, that's the magic. You talk, when I learned about this, I was very interested in knowing how is it actually doing that under the covers. Because I hate to just read something and believe it without really diving in and understanding it for myself. So before we get into that, there are some restrictions around instances. So just to be as a thorough presentation here. So your inputs that you're spending for an instant send transaction, it must have, all the inputs must be confirmed in at least 6 blocks. So that means if I instant send money to someone, they cannot just instant send to someone else. They're going to have to wait a little bit before being able to spend those instantly. There's a minimum fee and some other limits here, maximum of 1,000 Dash, which is a substantial amount today. So when I first started looking at Dash, it was around the $10 range. I was like, I don't know. Then $30, like, okay, I'm in this thing. So 1,000 Dash has gone up a lot since then. So for people, there's been a lot of fork talk lately. So some people may be familiar with user-activated soft fork. So what's essentially happening under the covers is we are generating a consensus to basically, if a block tries to double spin that instant send transaction, all the nodes in the network in that 2-second time frame have generated consensus to, if a block comes that conflicts, all the nodes are basically going to user-activated soft fork that block off the network. So that may be helpful to some people that are familiar with that term. I guess the other way is just all the nodes in the network are going to communicate, and if a block tries to double spin, all the nodes reject that transaction. So the miners are not going to create these blocks because they're not going to get paid from them. So real quick, I know we have a lot of people that know about master nodes, but in Dash, master nodes are kind of one of our differentiators. It allows us to have this other network of nodes that are compensated so we can make their services more expensive, don't have to worry about how much it costs to run a node. So that helps with scaling. In order to run a master node, you need 1,000 Dash. So this kind of creates inside of Dash a proof of stake system. And we're leveraging this master node network, this proof of stake system, to generate these consensus that we need to generate that consensus to do the user-activated soft fork and blocks that may try to double spin that transaction. Now, master nodes do a lot of things. We are just going to mainly talk about the instant send piece of it. But there's about 4,000 master nodes today spread around the world. And I think we're right. You probably hear more about the other stuff. I believe budget proposal is one of the really cool things, but there's another talk in a little bit that'll touch on that. So now we're going to dive a little deeper. And basically, on the network, it looks pretty much just like a Bitcoin transaction. We are changing one little bit in the transaction to identify this as an instant send transaction. Now, for each one of the inputs in this transaction, a unique score is calculated for every master node. So you got the 4,000 master nodes, and a score for that input is created for each master node. Then we're going to sort the list of master nodes, and the top 10 are going to be the quorum, or the ones that are responsible for voting whether or not to lock in that transaction. So since we select the top 10, we need 6 votes to confirm the instant send. And after any node on the network receives those 6 votes, they can be assured that that input is now locked, and any conflicting block from a miner will be orphaned from the network. So it's, if you have an input to a transaction or have lots of inputs, you could be potentially hundreds of master nodes could be involved in this voting process. So it's extremely distributed across the world, across the network. So this is, for those that can't see, hopefully these won't be put online, but this is kind of an example of what's happening. So in this transaction, we have 2 inputs to our transaction. And then we have our master nodes, 1 through 4,000. And we're taking the input and we're going to hash that with the master node's unique identifier and come up with that score. And so that gives us a score for each master node, which we can then sort the list of master nodes. So this is now sorted. So we have a different set of 10 master nodes for each input in this one transaction. Then 1 second later, we get our first incoming set of votes. And we got 4 from here, 3 on this one. So we're still in a limbo state. And then 1 more second later, we get more votes. And once we get more than the 6 votes, that confirmation is considered secure and locked in. So now we're going to dive even deeper. So how do we calculate this score? We are actually, I've kind of simplified a little bit, but each input, 4 blocks later, that is actually the block hash that's used for calculating the score. So that's one of the reasons we need to wait 6 blocks for an input to be used for instant send. It's because we need to look kind of in the future, so that's a safety mechanism. The second hash is the master node VIN, which is a unique identifier. When the master node is created, the transaction 1000 dash is required in a transaction that creates that master node. And the resulting hash of that transaction that creates the master node is that VIN, or the master node unique identifier. So, and then we concatenate those 2 items together and take another hash. More hashes the better, right? So then we gives their score and we sort the list. So that's how it used to be. So if instant send actually on the network is currently disabled because there's a weakness in how this score is calculated. So instant send actually had the power to roll back up to 24 blocks. So let's say a node received this all transaction, and it was confirmed in 4 more blocks after that. Then they received votes for a conflicting transaction that would basically double spend that same money somewhere else. Instant send, the nodes would actually roll back those 4 blocks in preference of the instant send transaction. So that's a very powerful mechanism. It's one of the reasons that people were very confident in the acceptance of instant send. However, it's one challenge is that master nodes can be confirmed in 15 blocks. So there was a way to compute your VIN offline to, if you had 6 master nodes just by yourself, you could actually compute your VIN and you pre-compute your scores ahead of time and win for a particular instant send. So if we tab, this is your input transaction. This is we're just talking about one transaction, or one input for this, just to keep it simple. So plus 4, that this is the block hash that was used for that input. So after, at this point, we can calculate, we can create a bunch of masternode creation transactions offline. We can do thousands, millions of them in a short period of time. So that, and then we can calculate the score if we were to instant send this input. Because then we can do all that offline because we have all the information we need. We have input I plus 4 plus our VIN. So that would allow us to register 6 new masternodes. So that would cost, you would have to have, about $2 million and malicious intent to be able to pull this off. And then after your masternodes have been confirmed, so 15 blocks later, you can then spin this input. And let's say you send the money to an exchange. Then 1 block later, after the standard transaction, not instant send here, you can then send an instant send transaction plus the 6 votes from the masternode that you've just created. So this was a very serious weakness, and it I would say there's double spend is very bad. We want to block all that, but there are some other edge cases around the scenario of one individual having more than 6 masternodes. So those were there's some like to-dos in the code saying this scenario we should probably do this better, but it hadn't been fully implemented. So there's some fork type things that would potentially be possible. That being said, instant send has been disabled. So there is what we call sporks, and that allows certain features to be turned off. Typically it's used when we upgrade the code and change the blockchain rules to do hard forks and safely roll in new changes. It allows the core developers to do that process safely. It's very similar to, Bitcoin has an emergency messaging system where the core development team holds those keys, similar to that. So the work on fixing this is in progress. It's in 12.2, and so I'll say disclaimer, these are still being developed and tested and subject to change, but what they're looking at doing so far is changing instant send so that it doesn't roll back blocks anymore. So we're just going to basically say, from this point forward, no blocks can come to these nodes that conflict or double spin that transaction. And then the key change here is calculate score now includes if we go back here, calculate score used to depend on this block hash and this offline VIN. Now it's going to include this I plus 4, this block hash, plus this guy here, A plus 15. So they can no longer create these masternodes offline and pre-calculate that score ahead of time. They actually have to create the masternode, wait 15 blocks before they can calculate the score. I said there are some edge cases around if someone single person control the quorum of the masternodes. Those edge cases have been filled out much better to reduce the risk there. So it's kind of a belt and suspenders type approach. It's been fixed in almost 3 different ways. That being said, instant send still provides greater than more than 1 block confirmation, maybe several blocks. So it's whatever confidence user activated soft fork brings to accepting a transaction. So this is a huge win for Dash in that we can still provide this functionality. And I'd say that what I think is security is always a progress. You get more and more secure, but the core team was extremely responsive and took the appropriate steps to close this as quickly as possible when it was brought to their attention. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't know how I did on time, but I don't know if we're going to do Q&A or not. But we have 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. Oh, there. So any questions? Going pretty fast. This guy right here. Yes, so he asks if instant send will be possible in other wallets. I mean, so most of the Dash, I looked at a couple, like 3 of them, I believe, Dash, and there's actually 2 Dash iPhone wallets, and both of those do instant send. And I'm not sure on Jack's, but several of the wallets do it by default, and it's really, it's like changing the message header to send it. Sending is extremely easy. If you want to be a wallet and receive the, pop-up say, we received an instant send, that takes a little more code in order to do, but definitely we'll see that go. Yeah.
So I have a user ask me about sports, if that's like a way of being centralized, because like there's like basically a backdoor that can shut down features on any arbitrary, I don't know, you get it.
Yeah. So the concern that he asked about is, does the sports in the code make it Dash more centralized or risk because developers can shut down features? I did the corollary to Bitcoin, as they have a messaging system, but typically the sports are only used as security and security concerns, or when they're doing the blockchain upgrades or rolling in a new feature. So I guess it's do you trust the core development team? I'd say if any point the core development team is in question, the budget system allows the Dash network to fund a different development team. So I think they're, from a development point of view, I think that allows a lot of safety. And this is, we had a security concern, and they were able to shut off a particular feature for the good of the network. And if they were to abuse that, I think it would be quickly remediated in terms of the budget. Yeah.
Sorry, my question ties into the question before about the centralization of the code. Because nobody doubts about the core development team. People doubt that maybe an evil government might actually put a knife to their throat and ask them to turn off certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what people don't want.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know a full list of the sports, or what's possible with those. I believe it's just turning off mostly the additional features that Dash brings. So I would say that, I mean, if that's, I guess I'll repeat the question was, the governments were able to kind of coerce the developers to get the keys and start using them to shut things off. I mean, the other side of the key is in the nodes. So if the government is in control of the keys, people upgrade their nodes and to a new key that they don't control. But
We got time for one more.
okay, one more. Yeah.
You guys were able to discover the instant spend and the possibility of doing double spend with that. Why don't you just make it so that new master nodes, when they come online, they can't vote for like 30 transactions. There's like a half minute, so who cares?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's lots of ways to fix the problem. The core developers, they were already refactoring quite a few things with some of the calculated score ranks, so that's what they, and again, it's still in flux, so they may add something like that as well. All right, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Great job. All right, coming to the stage now is Fernando Gutierrez in his talk, Governance with Dash. Fernando currently organizes efforts of the Dash core team in legal and user support areas. He has been on the team for more than 3 years, and I'm sure, like most people in this room, can no longer remember life before Dash. Besides Dash, he invests in real estate and co-owns a video game company. In the past, he's held several positions in sales, marketing, business development at one of the largest telecom companies in the world, where he's part of High Potential Management Development Program. He is also a registered lawyer and economist. Fernando Gutierrez.
This is awesome. I need to do a picture. These years have been amazing. Being here is unbelievable. talk is governance, and Ryan and I, we're gonna go through 4 parts in the presentation. We're gonna do history of the project, a few things you need to know to understand where we are now. Then we're gonna go a bit on how it works and how the system is set up, because although many people here probably know already how it works, I hope there are new people here that we are converting to Dash today, and they need to see that. Then we'll go about why this system is better than other systems that are currently being used by other projects. And finally, we're going to deep into Dash core team governance, which many people may find interesting because it ties with everything and what we are doing. So, history, it's important because it lets us understand where we are. As Martin Luther King said, we are not makers of history, we are made by history. So, there are 3 phases in the DAS project that I think is important to distinguish. The early days, this photo is real, by the way. There was no funding. Today, for some people, this is unbelievable. With all these ICOs being launched, we're just a group of volunteers doing this out of pure passion. And we didn't get paid. We even paid to work. We asked for donations, sometimes to support travel expenses or tools we were using, but there was absolutely no funding, and we ran like that for more than a year. Evan Duffield was the motor of all this phase, and he had committed 2 years to work full-time for the project. He quit his job to launch this, and he committed 2 years without any kind of payment to run the show. There was no real organization. Obviously, if you are not paying people, you can't manage them properly because they are just volunteers. You can't require for things, but you need to ask and say a lot of please and thank you, and you have to do that when you pay them. But also, you need to, people only work in the things they like, and the things that are boring or they don't like then don't get attended. So we needed to change from that. Many people here in the room were back then, and they know how frustrating it was to try to do things and don't have the money, have to ask the community for funds. It was really hard, but it also made us lean and made us smart, and I think all those projects that are not running through this kind of phase today are weaker because of that.
One of the things that we went through at that time was we saw the Bitcoin Foundation as an example. Maybe we could spin up a foundation, receive some funding that way. We started the Dash Foundation. Really very little came in through memberships and so on. And we found that the volunteer model or the donation-based model was really hard to do. And we've seen it with the Bitcoin Foundation. You know, donations drop every year. It really is kind of other people riding your coattails when you're asked to do a donation-based model. So that's one of the key learnings here from the 2014-2015 period.
So then we go to what we call the pro-am phase. That was 2015, early 2016, no, most of 2016 and late 2015. The Treasury was launched. This system we have now of proposals and funding for the project. Evan came up with that, and it was polished and launched. In the beginning, the budget was really small because the price was small, because the system works as a percentage of the new coinage. So we had just some little money, but that was a huge difference. We could start giving tokens of appreciation to the people involved with the project, and that felt really good. It was not real salary, but that felt good. Most proposals were still being done by the core team, but also we started to see smaller proposals popping up and new teams working around Dash because they saw the potential in this system. Some people in the team started quitting their day jobs. People who had high-paying jobs started leaving everything just to work for Dash, and that showed real commitment. And the process of professionalization started. Back then, Ryan started to act as the CEO of the team, even if at that time he was the CFO, and started to chases to do things that real companies do, because we were starting to act as a real company. You can give a glimpse of that.
Yeah, I mean, the process of professionalization is ongoing for us, but and we'll talk more about some of the things that we're doing to continue in that process. But when I joined the team full time, there were a lot of issues that we were facing. The budgets were not being proactively managed, so one month a good portion of the budget might go unused, and the very following month we had a bunch of expenses that the budget couldn't cover. And so we started to collaborate as a team and pull together all of the ideas that we had and start to prioritize them against how well are they aligned against our strategic goals, how urgent are they, and how much of an impact can they have on our community, on our price, because if it's something that would increase our price, we could then have more budgets the next month and more resources to be able to address more of our strategic goals. So we started prioritizing those things and then slotting them in as the budget allowed. Highest priority, most urgent, and most aligned with our strategic vision came first. And we started to get a lot more out of our budget. And then we were able to start to do things like differentiate between the tokens of appreciation that we're handing out to team members based on contribution levels, starting to prioritize external investments into companies looking to integrate with Dash, adding value to our ecosystem and our users to be able to do things with Dash that they couldn't do before. And so this process of professionalization kind of extended through the end of 2016. Beginning of this year, when the price really started to explode, we started to really organize ourselves from legal standpoints, from organizational standpoints, getting org structure, reporting structures in place, fleshing out our onboarding process. This process is ongoing. Robert does a lot of the work here in the project management office to help us create processes behind all of the activities that we have going on, reporting. And so we are evolving into a very effective organization.
And so this year, when the price exploded, we went from something like 10 beginning of the year, $10 per Dash, to current like 350. Obviously, that had a huge effect on our budget. On the budget, it's not ours; it's the network's budget. But we went into the 7-digit territory per month to invest in the project. That made a huge difference. We saw how the number in proposals and teams started to grow. Some of those teams are here producing news. We started to bring in new people we could not afford before. Some of them in this room, and they were expensive because they are great. And we poached people from amazing projects around the world, and we brought in great software developers. The team started to grow a lot, and that is making a huge difference. Also, we've seen, and we have to acknowledge that, some ways that there have been some failed proposals, and that is okay. That's a learning process. We've seen that certain things don't work, other things work, and the community and the masternodes are learning what should be funded and what not. And it's great that it has happened slowly, because mistakes are cheaper this way than if you go big from the beginning. And this is where we are. This is the place we are at now.
So on the waste issue, there have been proposals that have been put up and failed to deliver. There have been proposals where the value wasn't necessarily there, even if the goals were achieved. The masternode owners are learning from this, and there are changes taking place in the expectations of a proposal. The professionalism expected from your proposal is going up. They generally want to know who you are in real life. They like it if you're a real company. They like it if you actually enter into a legal contract with the Dash core team to escrow your funds until you deliver the goods. They like it if you provide some mechanisms of control over what it is that you're doing. So the masternodes are learning some of these things, and I think proposal owners are starting to learn it too, as to what it takes and what the expectations are. that lower the risk for the network. As Fernando said, this learning is good because if we came out with a big ICO at the beginning and had millions of dollars to spend, there would have been a lot more waste. But we started with $2 coins and $14,000 budgets. That was cheap learning. And now we're much more effective with that budget.
So
as
how
a
it
network.
works, we'll go a bit into that. Because the system is much more simple than what most people believe. In the end, it's just that the incentives are aligned. But it's also super powerful. As an early developer said, feel the force. We had to fire him because he kept speaking backwards and the team was going crazy. So how it works, it's super easy. Part of the block reward is reserved for investment in the project. That's as simple as that. 10% of every new block is reserved for this. It's kept in the system and then it's created at the end of the month when the budget cycle ends. And that's a big difference with other projects. And then anyone can make a proposal and ask for funding. And a proposal is just a name and a number. The only thing that you are asking is for money. And in the network, you only have a name. Then other sites have created all this system in parallel so you can have more information on your proposal and give information to the masters, like Dash Central. By the way, big kudos to Rango for creating that site. And, but in the network, you don't need to create something super complex to store information. This is just a name and a number. And then the masternodes vote. And they say yes or no, or they kind of thing. And that's all they say. And this is important because in the beginning, part of those mistakes were things like people making proposals so someone else did something. And the system is not prepared for that. The system is just funding. It's you want to do something, the system will fund it. There's no way to compel to anything. That's why we had to put those other mechanisms in place to correct.
So on this one, if the masternodes put up a proposal and say the Dash core team is going to create a certain website that does something illegal, we're not compelled to do it. This is just a voting system that determines where the funding goes. So the proposal receiver of those funds is the one that gets to dictate things and gets to decide how to implement something. We leave it to the experts. We are not crowdfunding decisions about how to implement things. An example of this is we put up a proposal for funding of a marketing campaign. We're very proud to be working with Ogilvy and Mather. They're one of the big four marketing firms. And we're starting out with a trial run. They're going to be doing our branding and an initial digital marketing campaign. But people don't get to actually vote on, well, how does that money get spent? Where, what type of ads are going to be run? What will the logo look like? We're leaving those decisions to experts, people who deeply understand the psychology of a brand and that type of thing. And so this is a lot like shareholders appointing someone to go do something. They don't get to tell them how to do their jobs. They try to install experts to go do those jobs in as professional a way as possible.
And then when the proposal gets approved, the owner gets the money directly from the blockchain. There are no intermediaries. This is really powerful when you are getting paid from the system. No one is handing you the money. The system, the masternodes are giving you that. And that's huge, we believe. So the system, we believe, we know it's better than other systems that are currently being used to fund other projects. Because there is no presentation which is complete without the sex joke, there goes the next one. My middle site brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. This is a song from the early century for the youngsters around here. And yeah, our system brings all the best devs to the yard, and they say, our DAS is better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. We have a system that has let us hire amazing people and has let us get where we are now. And we're going to compare briefly with two other systems that are being used. The donations and sponsorship system. We had this in the beginning. We even created our own foundation, and the problem with this system is that you lose independence. Whoever is paying bills has power. I'm not saying that developers in other projects like Bitcoin only obey to their to the company they are getting paid from, but obviously you are going to have those needs in your head because you are not independent. You are not paid directly by the protocol you are developing, and that's a big minus in our opinion. And also reliability. Donations and sponsorships can dry up, and then what? There's no more money, and now what? You had the numbers for the Bitcoin Foundation. They got last year. It was
last year's Form 990 that they registered was under $125,000. So most of the development expenses for Bitcoin and practically all of these projects is coming from donations of people's time or corporations that are sponsoring them. Also MIT, I think, sponsors two developers.
Yeah. So in the end, you are begging for money from people, and that comes with a cost. And also a distraction, because you need to be raising money all the time, and that costs time and energy. And the other system we're seeing, it's the rates right now. Every Bitcoin conference right now is about ICOs, and they're great. They're really, it's an amazing system to get funds. I mean, startups being able to get so much money at the beginning of their history, it's great because it allows you to do a lot of things and to be fast in execution, but it has also a lot of problems associated with that. In our system, we believe, is much robust because it pays to whoever is delivering value. It doesn't pay to whoever launched the project, like in an ICO. They pay to whoever is delivering the value at the moment because it's being generated in every block. The funding allocation can switch from one need to another one because the project is going to change while you develop. It's also fair to newcomers. One of the big problems in crypto, I believe, is that if you are not there early, you don't have any incentive to work for the project. It's much more profitable to launch a new one because only the holders are going to profit from your work. With this, we can pay people what they should get for the work. So it lets you bring new people. And it's sustainable because it's going to happen all through the life of the project. So you don't need to be thinking on new ways to get money. ICO money is great, but what will happen when it dries up? You spend what you had and you don't have a new method to raise new money. We have that in every block.
We are starting to see some ICOs doing second rounds, which dilutes the existing holders. So no one has yet solved that question as to what happens after the ICO money is depleted. What happens to the development then? Do you switch to a model where you're asking for donations again? Do you dilute everyone with an additional round? And so I think until that question is answered, we really believe that this is a superior way to go. And a lot of thought has gone into how we actually structure this.
And also, its regulation is safer. Nothing is completely safe, but a lot of ICOs are really selling securities. SEC has already said they are looking into it. China has temporarily banned them. So ICOs can give you trouble. In our case, we don't fulfill the requirements to be considered a security. This is much simpler and safer for the project. And
we actually fail on two of the components of the Howey test that determine whether or not you're a security. Absolutely every Dash that has ever been created was not sold. It was given to someone, either a masternode operator or a miner or someone putting a proposal up to the network to provide some work in exchange for that. No money has ever gone into some central organization They are all compensation for work efforts. And so we believe it's much more outside of the regulatory frameworks that exist today.
And this is important because some projects that have already launched and are working can have trouble down the road because regulation and law enforcement is slow, but they move. And they are already giving signals, and they will move. So being safer, it's great for all the ecosystem and for all us also, obviously. And finally, the task core team governance, which is something that many people ask, and sometimes they identify the core team with the task project, and that's not the case. The task core team is just one team working for the project. There are other teams, there are other people doing great things for task. And another Game of Thrones reference, I didn't know there was one in the first presentation, but this is a team play. The lone wolf dies and the pack survives. We are a team. There are a lot of people giving everything for the project, and that's what made it possible. People that were here at the beginning, people that are arriving now. Everyone is important. We are organized in the core team very specifically to work for the network as a team, and the spirit is always great. So, a few words on how the team is structured and then how we have that set up. We have 50 people already, and this doesn't include translators, because those are a lot and it's a different job. But 50 people working for the project and getting paid from the blockchain. I don't know if there are more teams as big as ours in the crypto space. And we're growing, and we are always looking for new people. Our recruiter is going crazy. In fact, we've hired a recruiter to have in-house because we have the need for new people. By the way, anyone that wants to get involved in that, please reach out. We have many positions to cover. And then we have project teams with their leads, and then we have the board. And everything is funded from the blockchain. And we could be fired because we could just get our funding pulled out. So it's a great structure. And then how we've set this up. We have a US company that hires people and signs contracts and enters into economic relations, because obviously when you are out there trying to get integrations, trying to do work, you need to sign contracts, you need to be a real actor with legal presence in the real world. We all love the internet, we almost live there, but we need to be able to do that kind of stuff, have a bank account, so we have that. Then we're setting up at the moment the New Zealand Trust administered from Switzerland, that owns the shares of that company. So we don't own the company. The network does, because the beneficiary of that trust is the TAS network. So we don't own anything. We in the team are just employees, and this system gives everything back to the network. And that trust, by the way, will also own any kind of intellectual property or patents that along the way we need to register. Anyway, we'll do that openly and assign those to the public. Everything will be open. We are still an open source project. We will always be. But it's true that even other open source projects need to sometimes fill some patents and assign them to whoever it is. So others don't do that for you and then give you a hard time.
We started this process back in January, and it's extremely complicated. We're doing things that no other project has ever done before. We've driven our lawyers absolutely nuts, our advisors absolutely nuts, working out every little detail, and they've had to research things that we're asking them to do. We want to make sure that ultimately we're accountable, so that after Fernando and myself and the rest of the core team are gone, and they've been replaced by other people, that there's accountability built into the system at a level that no other project has, even those that do have trust. How does the network make sure and hold those people accountable and allow them to be replaced in a sustainable way? And so we're setting this up for the long term.
Yeah, and just the fact that the beneficiary of the trust is the TAS network, that's revolutionary. That's what Ryan's saying. We are innovating in this, but using traditional structures that were already in place. So I think with that, we can build for the future and have a system that will work out for a lot of time. If you need more info, there are a few links, our social media presence and sites or whatever, you can the room is full of people from the team. Most of the ones with the dust T-shirt are involved somehow. So feel free to reach out. Any information you need, contact us anywhere, and we'll be happy to provide.
Sorry for eating into the coffee break. And if we knew that Fernando was going to rap for us, I thought we would have sold a lot more tickets. So thanks for that.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so we're moving into our first break. Unfortunately, due to the UK regulation, we can only serve alcohol after 12. So this break was a bit mistimed. But bear with. We got about 20 minutes. Come back, go stretch your legs, warm up a bit. I know it's cold in the front area, but this is where the air conditioning's from, whatever. Go outside, meet people, meet the Dash team. See you in 20.
Hey,